When we think about motivation theories and their association with rewards, we often think about the what, the thing that we use to motivate somebody to do something, the tangible benefit of doing a task which we provide a reward for, and that encourages them to continue in this behaviour or that behaviour. However, when we think about the various features of modern reward systems, we're often thinking about the processes that we use as much as the thing that is available at the end of that procedure, and that's most obviously applicable in performance management systems. And one of the things that we've seen over the years is that some of the key problems with performance management systems and the operation of them is not so much in the what do people get, although that is often a problem, but in the way in which the performance management process is carried out. So it's something to take into consideration, to think about carefully in the way that our performance management systems work and the way that we build in this kind of individual contribution type of reward into a broader reward structure. We have to think carefully about how people are going to respond, not just to what is available for engaging with this process, not just the reward that you get for performing in a certain way, but the process by which we determine that that performance has been achieved, and mechanisms that we use to operationalize this part of the reward system. Now, there are four areas of motivation theory that give us some insight into how this particular process works and helps us understand how some of those performance management systems, or more properly, performance management processes, need to be carefully considered in order that we don't trip ourselves up and demotivate people through this process rather than actively and positively motivating them to do so. So, as we've been talking about processes, it's not, or shouldn't be surprising, that the area of motivation theory that we're interested in here is in that school of theory that we call process theories. So we're going to look at some of these theories and think about how they relate to the way in which we undertake some of these performance management processes. So the first one we're going to think about just very briefly is goal theory. And goal theory, as we might guess from the name, is concerned with the way in which people have an opportunity to take part in, to influence the goals in which they're expected to operate, the goals of which they're expected to attain. Now, we do find that where people are more closely involved in the setting of goals, where we don't just impose a goal on them or say this is your target for this period or that period, but actually engage with them, that we discuss the setting of goals, that process in itself strengthens and increases people's commitment to the achievement of those goals. And not only that, but that by going through that process, by actively engaging with people and seeking their understanding, their input, to seek their guidance about the kind of goals that are appropriate, we actually find that we're able to stretch people further than we would otherwise have been able to do. People are much more likely not just to engage with the goals or the targets that have been set where they're involved, but that those goals and targets can be more ambitious than they would have been if we'd simply said, this is your target for next year. So goal theory provides us with a very important insight into the importance of involvement in the process. That this is a key activity that we should do, not simply because it seems like the right thing to do or it's a nice thing to do, but because it is simply more effective, that we actually achieve better outcomes by engaging this way. Similarly, reactance theory tells a similar kind of story. A reactance theory lets us understand the way in which people don't just accept the reality in which they exist. They don't just respond. They don't just take whatever is thrown at them. People have a desire to ascribe meaning to the world in which they live. They want to express and to assert their understanding of reality. Now, we can take this in a couple of different ways. The first thing is that that also reinforces the way in which it might be that it might be seen as important that people are involved in the setting of targets and performance objectives and so on, in a similar way to that we've just discussed around goal theory. But similarly, it has relevance for the reward side of the equation as well. To what extent are people able to assert control over the nature of rewards that they receive? That it's not just you do this and you get that, but the extent to which people are able to control what they value, what they think is an important reward to receive. And that the more that that ties in with their understanding of reality, their understanding of what's important, what's valuable, and so on, then the higher the motivation is likely to be to achieve the goals that is associated with that reward, which is similar to the very important expectancy theory, which puts a great deal of emphasis on the identification of rewards which have high value to employees. That that we shouldn't just simply expect that everybody is going to be turned on by a simple set of rewards, that everybody sees things in the same way. People interpret reality. They make sense of what is important to them. And so understanding the things that have value, what rewards mean in their context, in their view of reality, is a very important part of the process. The final theory that I'm going to mention here is equity theory. Equity theory is important right the way across the design of reward systems, because it speaks to this very important process that we all engage in pretty much all of the time, particularly in relation to making sense of rewards. We compare the rewards that we receive for what we contribute to the organisation, the performance that we put in, however we want to define it, and the rewards that we think other people get, and our understanding of what they contribute to the organisation in order to get that. And so we're constantly in this process of weighing up, of balancing the things that we do and we get against what other people do and what they get. Now, clearly, that has a major impact in terms of the way that we think about performance management systems. The way in which we conduct performance reviews, the way in which we measure and assess the performance outcomes of individuals, and the way in which that translates into rewards becomes a key issue. And the perception of the fairness of those processes, the way in which something is measured and it's rewarded, becomes a key issue in terms of the way in which people are prepared to engage positively and effectively with these processes. So we've got four theories there: goal theory, reactance theory, expectancy theory, and equity theory, which all provide us with a little bit of insight into how people understand and might react to systems of performance management, particularly how the processes of performance management and the kinds of rewards that flows out of performance-based systems become key in the way that people engage with them and the likely effectiveness of these systems in practice.